Hold on. Lighting's good. Golden hour. How's this? I was just working on my hair, getting this shit out. I made a lot of progress. Look, if you remember, it used to all be clumped together behind here, up like this. Now it fucking goes down like this. I want to talk about gangstalking, I think. So just for an example, when I really started noticing it, I mean, I would say my first ever, and I know I should save it for my book, whatever, but the first instance I really felt this separation from the world and a connection to God that lifted me to a higher plane of existence. It started when I got my car and I would drive around listening to music over and over again. And that's my favorite thing to do in life, is to, before the past 2 years where I found the love of the woods. And that was, the past 2 years was the only time I had ever stayed in the woods. My whole life, even though I lived in Vermont, I was in my apartment watching, stuck to a screen. Now I'm stuck to a screen in the trees, and it gets scary. But I remember when I left my hometown, and I was leaving forever in 2018, and I was going to Maine alone because I'd already gone to Maine, broke down, went on an adventure, got enough to get to college, went to college, left college because it was satanic. Literally in the music industry, it was satanic and evil, and I left. And then being home didn't work out because I was already above my friends, and it just didn't mesh right, and they were just actively working against me, like forcing me to take drugs if I wanted to live with them. If I didn't want to be homeless, I had to smoke 4-foot bong, and I was trying to take my medication at the same time. And I was working full time, pizza delivery, and I would listen to music. But I left. I decided to leave. And I was going to Maine, and this thought hit me. Like this big light was me, and I was connected to something greater. And the first thing I thought of was like, I'm going to take every single opportunity I can that the universe presents me, just curious and experimenting with the idea that God is real and I'm part of something greater. And as I was going down the road, I was like, any opportunity I get to help, I'm going to give 150% to everyone. And then immediately I turned a corner on the freeway, not like a big highway, but like the main road through the mountains where you can go 60, 70. And there was a guy on the side of the road. Immediately, just a guy on the side of the road. So I was like, okay, cool. So I parked, got out, and I was like, hey man, do you need any help? And he lit up. And he was like, yeah, I'm just changing the tire, trying to fix my car. And he said something about where he was going that it later was a significant place for me. But at the time I didn't know what it was. So I helped him I just helped him fix the car, made sure he was good, and then took off. And the feeling I got, like my entire world prior to that moment completely shedded away. And I had completely shifted to a new everything. My whole world changed after that moment. Because I knew that as soon as I had this confirmation, like this, I set this intention with God that I'm going to help everyone that I meet, I immediately was met with someone that needed help immediately. And after I actually did it and I went through with it, something in spirit just, literally, it was like I shifted dimensions. Like I was no longer in the world I was in before. I was completely in a different world where the rules of the world were completely different. And I had this power and peace in my whole body that I was just like glowing for months afterwards. And then later it was like, then things started trying to whittle me down. The light that I was shining was making people obsessed and envious and jealous and really attached to me. I remember one time the person I was staying with got really weird, like really weird. And then he broke, and I was walking in the laundry room, and he fucking smacked my ass. And I didn't say anything because I was like, hopefully that's like he never had a kid, because this guy was old. I was like, hopefully he never had a kid, and that's one of those things where he saw another father doing that with his son. Like the thought was like, I've seen dads do that to kids before they go out to a baseball game or something. But it was just weird, so I waited like a couple weeks, and he completely shut down after that, got really depressed and wouldn't talk to me. And I was like, I don't really understand what's going on here. So I went to leave on Halloween, and he, as I'm trying to go, it was like he knew. As soon as I had like gotten everything ready and I was about to be like, hey, it's been great. It's not like a detriment to our friendship, but I think I'm gonna go for a while. So he rushed into the room crying, and then I tried to leave, and then he jumped on my back, and he wouldn't let go. And I was like, I'm just trying to go, man. Please leave me alone. And he had had tons of surgeries. He had cancer, and they were opening up his stomach every month. His fucking guts opened on my back, blood everywhere on my back. He fucking fell apart on my back. So I waited. They called the ambulance and the police, and then all the other people that kind of saw me as the sick kid they were helping showed up, and everyone was really mad at me. Fucking that old guy's sister messaged me and was like, I hope you're happy. And I was like, I don't understand why none of them can see the reality of that situation, that guy was really sick, and I was broken, but I wasn't that far gone. So I got in my car and I left, and I drove home. About halfway, my car was running low on gas. It had started pouring. So I was like, I don't want to be on the road driving in this huge storm where I can't see even though my wipers are going so fast. So I was like, I know I'm going to hydroplane or something. So I pulled into a gas station, and there was nobody there. The gas station was closed early for some reason, probably because it was Halloween. And it was just me there, the light shining on the big rest stop on the way from Maine back to Vermont. And I was on one side. I was blasting John Bellion's Hand of God because I love the outro. And there's somebody else on the other side, just like pulled across. And I felt like the strings of the symphony in my mind had sort of bent, and it was pushing inward. And I felt like there was something coming towards me in my mind. And then a girl like probably this tall against me, came over. Hi, you can do it, I'm listening. Yeah. Okay, I'll summarize really quickly. I found God because I left home after leaving the satanic music industry and a bunch of shit that happened there. And then I was in a bad situation with my friends. So when I got enough money, I got in my car and I was going to go to Maine to start a new life. And then I felt this higher thing where I decided to explore the idea that God is real. And I felt like I had tuned into a better connection or a better song with something greater than myself. And then immediately I had decided that if that's true, any situation that somebody puts in front of me where I can help somebody, I'm going to give 110%. And then immediately I turned a corner, and there was a car that looked just like my car on the side of the road, broken down. So I was like, this is okay. So I pulled in, I went to help the guy. The guy was ecstatic, we would help him. And then as I helped him fix his car and I got him there and everything was good, suddenly my whole world changed. It was like I left one world and entered a different world. Completely, like every reality just completely shifted. The colors were different, the way people spoke around me was different, the way the music felt was different. The music that I heard on the radio changed to like a different set of chords, because I've been in music since I was born. I was raised alone, so I live in creativity. So I could tell that everything had changed. Literally my whole reality had changed after that call to action, and I answered the call, and then I moved into the hero's journey. But the relationship with the guy I was staying with, who was like a father figure, got really sick and kind of weird and twisted, and he just became over attached, and it was just starting to be really unusual. And I was 18, I didn't understand. And then one time he slapped my ass while I was walking down the hallway. So I waited for like a week to see if it would get worse, because I was like, maybe he's just a weird guy. He's been alone for a long time. He doesn't know father-son relationships. Because I've definitely, like, I never had a brother, but I had a family friend and a sister, and I never knew how to talk to them like that brotherly sisterly connection, but I would see it on TV. And one time I tried something I saw on TV, and I said the thing that the guy said, and his sister laughed in the show Scrubs. And then my cousin, I call her my cousin, and she was like, "What the fuck?" And she stopped playing Monopoly with me when I was like not 8 or 9. So I was like, maybe it's one of those things. But eventually, it just got really weird, and he got really weird, and just like depressed and detached and like reclusing. Like I would walk in from work, and he wouldn't say anything at all the entire night. And I was like, I don't want to. He's like a girlfriend. I don't want to be like, why are you mad at me, and start these conversations. I was just like, are you okay, man? And he's like, yeah. Like, okay, man. But then I left on Halloween, and he knew, and he ran into the room crying. And when I was trying to leave, he jumped on my back, and his surgery stitches opened, and his guts spilled out on my back. And then I left, went to this thing, went to the rest stop, pouring rain, couldn't drive anymore, so I waited. I was playing John Bellion, Hand of God. I felt the strings in my mind like pressure, like something was coming towards me. And then a woman spawned, and she's like, oh my God, what is this song? And I was like, it's John Bellion. Don't listen. Your whole life's in the hand of God. Lay me down in Brooklyn if I lose my life. Push me down, and it's a gospel choir. Push me down the Hudson and turn on the radio. Long Island's only smiling 'cause my soul is fine. I did everything for New York. And then the strings start sort of writhing and shifting with as a gospel choir sings the hooks of all of his songs on the album to the outro. And we talked about music for like 10 minutes, just going back and forth about how much I love creativity and how much she does. And then she says that her husband does music, even though she looked like she was like 24. She's like, my husband does music. I think you guys would really get along. And she gives me his Instagram handle, and it's the ghostwriter for Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. He did Thrift Shop. His name's Mike Slap. He did Thrift Shop. He did Can't Hold Us. He did a bunch of them. His name's Mike Slap, and he's out of Maine. So I was like, okay, I took the leap of faith from that. I left the tower moment, and I was going on my journey. I literally had to stop. I couldn't get back home to Vermont. In that pause, somebody showed up and gave me the opportunity to get back in the industry. And I didn't take it because my computer had problems, and I didn't feel like I was where I knew I had the ideas and the creativity, and the things I was creating was higher level than I was seeing on the radio. I knew I had that, but I didn't feel like I was able to get it myself. The same position I'm in now. I don't have a studio. I don't have the instruments. I don't have the plugins. I don't have the speakers, and I don't have the right space to get into the mix correctly. So I can't make how I want it to sound. So I don't want to go on this journey to meet somebody and kind of overstep my boundaries and kind of ruin the relationship before I'm ready. So I kept him on the back burner, and I went home, and it was horrible. I got in a car accident months later. Like 3 or 4 months later, I got in a car accident, and that left me brain damage and stuck in Section 8 housing. And then I set off again. But I came here to talk about gangstalking. Part of that, when I got that whatever righteous anointing, or I gained God's favor, or I activated my real self because I had separated from the world, and my like higher levels of thinking had been validated to a point that I was strong in my ability to believe in these things that the world doesn't seem to want you to think, which is stuff that you won't find in the Bible and you won't find anywhere. It's like a personal thing, your personal self, that the world's will doesn't like at all. The world's not really, like, if you go in public and go to cities and stuff, it's pretty much impossible to embody your true self in it, because you'll start to feel this huge pressure, and every social interaction you have is so chaotic. The exchange of energies, it's really hard to hold that. But when I was in the car driving alone through all this and being alone through all this, I was able to get there. What I noticed is that as I got to the higher levels, I would start to see the same characters in the same places. I would start to walk through a grocery store, and everybody's head would turn and look like this at me. And then I would like just keep walking, don't look at them, keep walking, do my stuff. And then the people that like, as soon as I walked into the space, I could feel like 5 or 6 different nodes of dark energy hitting me, and I would just resist it and keep walking. And then I noticed that those nodes, like those people, those vessels of the darkness that I felt really heavily trying to attack me as soon as I got into the environment, those people would be in the aisle suddenly, just like standing there pretending to look at stuff and look kind of side-eyeing me, and would follow me to the aisle. Sometimes they would get really violent and just like approach me immediately, and I would just go right for the bathroom, get into the stall, and then that guy would come in and just stand there, and he wouldn't pee, he would just stand in the urinal. Sometimes I would feel him, those types of people suck. That's happened a few times, and I felt like they took all the energy. And then one time one of the guys went, ah, that's fresh, and then he zoomed out, and I felt like he had taken all my power, and I struggled for a long time to get it back. Stuff like that happens. I would just keep going because I'm like, I know, worst case scenario, I power through it to the end. I make some, like, at least maybe if I'm never able to get the greatness, I at least have some shining moments in this fight, and people will recognize the fight that I was in and what I did with it. So I just kept going because I'm like, I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna turn around. I'm gonna keep going down the trail. So, but it just got worse, more and more and more. Eventually it would be like I'd be sitting at a park homeless on my computer making music, and it had been beaten out of me, and the cold and the hunger and the unfairness and the ostracization from society, it was so hard, and sickness, it was so hard to get to a place where I could get even somewhere close to back to how I felt in that first moment there. And then I get it for a split second, and then I feel that same pressure, like something's about to approach me, and I look over, and it's a guy standing in the park like this, and he points at the shirt, and the shirt says, I survived severe MK Ultra experimentation, and all I got was a stupid t-shirt. And then he leaves, and I'm like, I'm gonna ignore it, get back to my music, I'm working on circles. But then exactly a year later, I'm in a gas station 50 or 60 miles away, and I feel the same pressure, and I look over, and it's a different guy, but he's smiling the same way. And he's holding something, but I can see the shirt. It says, I survived MK Ultra, and all I got. It was another one, exactly a year later. There's a bird that's shown up now. Fast forward, like, I could talk about how when I went to West Virginia, the thing I was trying to do didn't work out, and a guy named Frank kidnapped me, took me up this big hill to a Walmart, called 2 people named Brian, and 2 Brians and their families, and the Frank started praying over me, and then they convinced me to stay, and I went to this Pentecostal church, and the first time I got to the Pentecostal church, the Frank taps me on the shoulder and goes, watch this, and he gets up on stage and goes, I'm hungry for souls! Fast forward like 2 months, and somebody else I met when I was driving around in the church van with Frank, and he kept trying to convince me I was gay, and then he would hit on me, and I even like brought a girl into the van and made out with her just to show him like I'm attracted to women. I'm not gay, but he kept trying to convince me that I had a gay spirit. And I'm like, no, man, I think about sex with women a lot, and I am disgusted by the thought of sex with men. Sorry, I'm kind of homophobic, actually. It feels like it's driving me into a bad reality I don't want to be a part of because of stuff in my past, being an attractive young man. But he kept doing it, and then someone I met through him invited me over, and then when I got there, she gave me this pill that said it would help my schizophrenia, and I was like, I don't think I have schizophrenia. No, she said it helped her with her schizophrenia. I was like, maybe I'm schizophrenic. So I took it, and I felt like I couldn't move. And then when I felt like I couldn't move, she blew weed in my face. And then a bunch of people showed up outside. A couple of them had said they were neighbors, but then 2 people from her family that she said had been out of town for a long time that had just come back when I got there, they showed up and said, hey, let's come over. And then they came in and they started talking and hanging out, but then they lit some incense and started doing a voodoo ritual, and they were trying to steal my manifestation energy, and the guy started freestyling, and she told me that he had stolen it from me, and then she started ordering me around like a dog, trying to convince me I was a dog. And that was Frank and Brian. And then, like, when I got to here, I mean, like, the same day Kai Cenat and Ray took that iconic picture in Tokyo, me and I call him my foster brother, John Michael, whose dad's name is Ray, and I took this at the same time, same day. We took a photo where we're smiling and our thumbs are up, and we look like we're glowing. And then at the same time in Tokyo, Kai Cenat had met Ray, and they took a photo, and they're holding two fingers up, and they look like they're dead inside and have this red hue and dark, hollow, empty eyes. And then John Michael and I fought over this girl named Ray, and Ray ended up moving away, and I ended up being involved with another girl named Ray. And then the next year, Adam Ray and Casey Rocket, Kill Tony, William Montgomery, all those people took off in 2023. So even though I wasn't hanging out with my Ray, John Michael, and Kai Cenat and Ray had fallen off out of the global sphere, then Casey and Adam Ray took over. So another Casey and Ray blew up. And then the next year, I broke down here in Randolph, and no one would help me. It was violent. I was ostracized and attacked by the community. And the only two people that helped me was Casey at Capstone and then Ray at Rumor Has It, who has a church. And that same cycle of names is over and over again. Like when you go down to Capstone, there's a spray painted Alex with a little demon fang stick figure. And then the last cycle, I was mad at my friend Alex, who I felt was becoming demonic, and I was trying to make music with him. Before that, my ex was involved with a guy named Alex, and she would always talk about him, but I felt like there was something really wrong about the way, and then before that, another Alex, and then this year, last year that was the spray painted Alex, and then this year, I actually met the person that spray painted that when we worked together at the 33rd Annual Celtic Music Festival. And I'm a 33 life path, born in the 11th, and you can pick apart, like, it gets so complex, it'll never make sense to anyone unless you had been on this journey for so long and seen it happen to me over and over and over and over again. Like, the big coup de grace, I think, so far has been that after the 33rd Annual Celtic Music Fest, I went back to my tent in the woods, and God or something had been showing me Ari Aster, AA11. You should watch his videos, his movies. So I decided to watch Hereditary, and it's the same names over and over again. I won't spoil Hereditary, but it's terrifying, and it's about, there's 3 crows now left to right, immediately where I've been staring. As soon as I said I tried to get into something, now there's 3 crows right there. But specifically, Beau is Afraid. There's a lot of stuff in Hereditary, but Beau is Afraid is like a exaggerated, in-your-face story that describes every aspect of my life that I've tried to get through to the channel about living in a controlled society that everyone is designed to play a character against you, and even though you're horrifically tortured, the answers are always right in your face, and it's about compartmentalizing, powering through, and becoming a leader. And now I said that was my story as the 33 life path. That's what it feels like. And then Beau Wasserman lives in room 303, and I had just performed Hawaii at the Celtic Music Festival, and then Beau opens up the fridge in room 303, and he pulls out a frozen meal, and it says, ''Loha, the best food of Hawaii and Ireland." And he eats it, and then exactly what happened he's in Section 8, when I was in Section 8, exactly what happened with him happened to me, which was I was trying to do something amazing to help people and to be there for others, and my neighbor was schizophrenic and freaking out about music that wasn't playing, and that forced me to be evicted. With him, it forced him to go through a bunch of horrific things, and then in the movie, he was saved by people when he had broken free from the Matrix, and he was like running naked through the streets, and he gets hit by a car as a gangstalking, like, stop him. And then they take him, and he's technically in captivity, but it's the first time he felt a family that was healthy. even though it turned out that they weren't. All the names of the people after Bo got in a car accident, the names of the people that helped Bo were the same names of the people that helped me after my car accident. Until I left, and then in Bo, he runs away and he goes into the woods. I ran away and I'm in the woods. But I feel like I'm pursued, and I am pursued by crazy white people. That specifically people that I symbolize as wolves because of like their obsession with Vikings, and that's a pseudo thing for their actual racist tendencies and their need to conquer and stuff. Is like they're obsessed with something really mentally ill, but they use Viking, obsession about, they have that symbolism. You know what I'm talking about, the people in the trucks with the tattoos, but they're not Norse at all. They just love the idea of conquering everything every day. So Bo is chased by a wolf in the symbolism when they put him on drugs, and he meets these orphans in the woods, and he goes through this ritual where he finds himself outside of space and time, and there's a couple other people there too that had wandered into this section of the woods. When he realizes, a hint at the extent of what it's actually like to live outside of time, what reality really is. And then he goes through. He finally finds his masculinity that had been beaten out of him for his whole life, and he feels free. And then the girl gets triggered that they could control her remotely, and they make her body freeze. And then it's slowly revealed that his mom works for some like quintillionaire secret occult society, and the whole world was a stage designed as an experiment for him. And then at the end, he's judged for his decisions, which is, can he still love his mother, even though she did all these horrible things to him? Even though his whole life she was a controlling, sick monster that had completely ruined his life. The point of Bo is Afraid is that even though that was happening and it was horrific and extreme, there is technically the truth that you can just wake up and resist and start living your own life and being your own man, even though it feels like, how many people could actually do that? And the impossible odds of being trapped in a Truman Show where everybody's designed to whittle you down psychologically and beat you and control you, and to the very extent to test your free will. Not many people could do it. And then Bo eventually kills his mom, and then they trigger him. After he kills his mom, they take control of him because they could control everyone the entire time. And then they just walk him onto a boat. The boat goes into a womb, a giant cave, and then he's met with the secret society, the people outside of the simulation, and they kill his public defender as a joke, like a human sacrifice. And then they judge him because 4 or 5 times in his entire 50-year-old life, Bo was there was a time where some of the friends, they hired little kids to come in and pretend to be his friends, and they were going to see how far Bo would let them tell him, because they were like, let's go to your house. And then they went to his house and let's go to your mom's room, and then they started playing with her underwear. So one of his things was he let that happen, and then his lawyer was he was afraid and he wanted friends. He didn't know any better, and then they killed the lawyer. Stuff like that. But then in the deep dive, you're I'm a Sagittarius Aquarius. That's all my signs. I'm a Sagittarius Mercury, Sun, and Pluto. And I'm an Aquarius Moon, Mars, Uranus, and Neptune. And then I'm a Taurus rising, Saturn and Taurus in the first house. Everything else is just what the Taurus rising gives you, Sagittarius Aquarius. And you look at Bo, and Bo, Sagittarius, the archer, and his last name is Wasserman, which is Jewish for waterman. Water bearer, the waterman in astrology is Aquarius. So Bo Waterman means Sagittarius Aquarius, and he's born May 10th, which makes him a Taurus. So we have Taurus, Sagittarius, Aquarius, and I'm a Taurus rising Sagittarius Aquarius. Then you have, as you go through, you'll see the symbolism of the twins, or Gemini, which is two of the same thing. So you'll see Bo was actually a twin at the first scene of the movie He's on a couch with 2 seats. There's 2 people with the camera shot, 2 like this. Then he's walking. Then the second scene, he's walking through a horrific set, and it looks like a set, but you think it's just a quirky movie. And then as you go on, you realize no, it was a literal set. He thinks it's a city, but he's too afraid to go down the street to actually see, because he's just doing what everyone tells him. So he never really has to notice that those skyscrapers are literally just like cardboard painted. He's in probably like he thinks he's like half across the country from his mom, but really he's probably right down the road. But in that scene, you'll see 2 guns, 2 gun racks. You'll see like just 2 of the same thing. 11 symbolism. 11, 11, 11, 11. Throughout the whole movie, you'll see 11 symbolism. And I'm a 33 life path, like room 303, and I'm born on the 11th, which makes me an 11-day energy. So the whole movie, you see his day-to-day is 11 all the time, but his life, like the room that he escapes, is room 303. When his world gets overrun and he leaves his apartment behind, his world splits to encompass. So the 33 represents his compartmentalized life, and then when he's forced out and forced on the journey, then the world becomes his 33. And you'll see that in the movie. There's big symbolism where his world expands bigger and bigger, and then eventually he realizes that his mother, who was like the controller of that little box, was the controller of his entire life. And then he snaps after he realizes how awful she was and how sick everything is and what she's done to him, and he kills her. Something cool, another symbolism is about the Irish. Even though Bo is a Jewish name, I have a mother who tells me she's Jewish. She has red hair. Before it went gray, she had red hair, and she was a lot like Bo's mother in a lot of ways, even though it was so hard because I was grown up compartmentalized like that. It was not easy to recognize the things that I had neglected to learn about life because I didn't have a diverse set of influences, and I didn't have friends in a social group and whatever. And I don't know, I barely have any memories of my childhood, so I can't tell you that, but I know that I have a self-appointed Jewish mother with red hair, just like Mona Wasserman. And I always feel like the main thing that the world is attacking is my Irish culture. The sense of like belief in luck and that things are all going to work out. And in Beau is Afraid, the main, like every character that dies with Irish symbolism. The first death you see is a man that's begging for help, that no one will help him. He's on top of a roof, and Beau walks up to the crowd, and he's like, "What's going on?" And everybody there is like, "We're trying to get him to kill himself." We're trying to get him to kill himself. And then they all turned their cameras and pointed at Beau. And you can see in the movie, everybody's like staring at him and smiling the whole time in the background before you realize it was all a set the whole time. It was all fake. But the first guy that dies when he eventually jumps off, he was in a suit with shamrocks, the Irish clover everywhere. And that symbolism of killing the Irish part of Beau's life by the Viking red hair and the Jewish Hermeticism and Druidism, ancient Druidism, trying to attack the Irish culture, Freemasonry and all that, secret societies trying to destroy the chosen people, the Irish, who had survived the Vikings and religion changes and all that stuff. So that's a huge, like, Beau is eating the Hawaiian Ireland, indigenous Irish, and the Irish part dies as the story goes until he finally kills his mother. And it's just like, if you watch Beau is Afraid and you knew my mom, like, they really, like, to be isolated in that relationship, to, like, strangers on the outside, you wouldn't see it. But occasionally, like, my cousin in the past would break, and he'd be like, "I can see it now, I'm so sorry." But then he's still stuck in Section 8 with his mother. It's pretty much the same way, in different ways. So that happens, just this controlling on the lonely, only child, and the vilification of his father. And we have Ari Aster, AA11. Just the point that whole movie is coded in every single scene with things that you can look back at my channel for years now I've been talking about, and to just see it in a movie for the whole world to see. in my channel, I talk about how my life being so simple like this is creating this signal that sort of triggers the manifestations of what the whole world is seeing. Like from my mountaintop here and living my simple life throughout the complex global scheme, the stories that I sort of co-create is what takes precedence. Like the things that I think are funny, I'll take in a lot of the world and I'll create it in my little tiny compartmentalized trauma bubble. As a child, I was alone on top of a mountain, and I had my own room full of Legos, and I would build Legos and Bionicles all day, building characters and stories and cities, playing with action figures by myself as this exalted thing creating. And the same way that there now it's evolved to a point where it seems like the things that I'm creating in my daydreams do take off. Like I wanted to be a traveler that did pickup artistry, and I wanted to teach people how to be free. I wanted to do MMA. I wanted to get buff and live that life, and it never worked out. I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and I wanted it to be based completely off of improvisation, but at such a high level, in a fun, carefree way that is kind of silly. And then that didn't work out. I wanted to be a country music star. That didn't work out. I wanted to be like a bunch of like, like the punk, when I went into punk, it didn't work out, whatever. All this different stuff that didn't work out. And then they say that in your zodiac year, so if I'm 99, that's the rabbit or the cat. And then in 2023 was the rabbit and the cat. In that year, 2023, when I was homeless in Burlington, fighting to make songs and make a change in the world, and I was fighting every day through horrific circumstances. I was saving kids. I was fighting off homeless people. I was watching police brutality. I was inspiring people that would meet me at the skate park. I was inspiring rappers because they would hear me freestyling, and their whole artistry would change afterwards. When I would be alone by myself, cold and sick in the tent, hiding from people that were going to kill me and that had tried to kill me in the past, and just unable to find work or get into a job, completely treated horribly for no reason by everybody all the time, just an unusual level of targeted attack. I would open my phone and I would see myself. Like if you look through my memories about my best moments where I was so happy about things I had done and I wanted to show the world, and I never got to because it didn't work out. I saw Kai Cenat doing the Irish jig in his zebra print basement room. I saw Casey Rocket take off and go on stage and act exactly like you could look at videos of myself when I was 17. That was like the thing I was proud of. And it was like I was looking at me. I saw Kurt Kaz. I saw Kendrick Curry. I used to wear a weird hat. And my motto was kind of stay weird, like be different. And the way that he spoke, and specifically the relationship that I had with John Michael, and then Kendrick Curry blew up because of his back and forth with a guy named John. Just like John Michael's dad is Ray, and then Casey Rocket, Adam Ray, Kai Cenat, and Ray. And then last year, we had Cassius Culpepper. We had Kurt Kaz in 2023. At the end of 23, I found Cassius Culpepper before I moved into this guitar out, making country songs out here. Before that, I wanted to travel still, and we had Kurt Kaz. And I was about to, because the people that stole my car that started the journey was a tow company that's abusing the whole city of Burlington. They own the entire thing, and they're skyrocketing the rent. They're not taking care of the people. The people are getting poisoned, and it's a small city. And they just took my car because they wanted to, and there's nothing I could do about it because I couldn't afford a lawyer, and the police don't care. So I was mad, and I was going to take a Molotov, and I was going to just chuck it into their garage, knowing that there's probably oil everywhere. I was just going to chuck it into the garage and blow everyone up. And then I'm on this back road, and there's nothing there. In the middle of Vermont, there's nothing except this one church. So my car tire fucking flies off the car. The whole wheel flies off the car. And I skirt into the church parking lot. And then when I get there, a guy named Harland shows up. And he helps me get the wheel back on the car. I try to drive again, and then it flies off again just up the road. So the car's bumping, and I eventually get it back, like slamming myself onto this side, so the weight difference, and I get it back into the parking lot. And I end up going for some reason, it was Sunday. It was the Super Bowl. So I went, they had a church service, so I went there, and everybody's names were the names of my family. There was a Vicky, a Gary, an Ari, and a Jesse. And they were all exactly like my family. They all acted and spoke to each other the same way my family does. Very sick, condescending, and ADHD brain. I get in there, I sit in the back, I don't say anything, but I feel this huge wave of separation from the world and this immense level of empathy where I can literally see all the thoughts in everybody's head. And I can see that they all became aware of me because they're spiritual. And I saw how many people, like one of the ladies was flirting with me, was kind of like flirty with her character, and another guy was like, what do you look like? Just this back and forth with like 20 different souls at once. All at once. And I was like talking to them all. And then a stranger wearing all black walks in, and coincidentally someone that was in the chair, it was a packed house, but the chair next to me, someone had left. And then this guy walks in and nobody acknowledges who he is. He's in all black. He comes and sits next to me because my chair, the person next to me had mysteriously disappeared. And he sits next to me and he goes, you talk to God because everyone else is afraid to. You're the bravest person here and possibly in the world. And then he gets up and walks out and nobody acknowledges him. Nobody says anything. And then I slowly feel like I'm pulled back away from being able to talk to them. And then it was like it all closed. I was no longer able to communicate in spirit that way anymore. They had like brought me back into being a human again. Instead of like an angel or a higher being or something, like my true self when I'm trying to grow like a tree, they kind of capped that tree again and put it back. And then as I left, and I go back and sit in my car, and I open my phone, and the first thing I see is the KCC won the Super Bowl. Until then, I didn't watch football as a kid. I had no idea the Kansas City Chiefs existed. But that year in 2023, all I was fighting for was to get to a position, and I was performing, and I was fighting and making music. I was going to get to a position where I could get all of my old friends that did me wrong, John Michael, Alex, Nate, Ruby, Tony, Jack, John, Sam, Megan, who's a 33 Life Path, and born March 3rd, and there's more. There's C. Caleb, C. There's tons of people, and I was going to get to a point where I could win, and then I'm like this glowing ball of potential, and I have my power, and I have money in my pocket, and I have a place where I can make music and start creating TV shows and music videos and content, filmmaking, animation, music, e-commerce, stock trading, anything I wanted to do. When I get there, then my kingdom of creative champions, the KCC, that's when I would implement that and we would win. And it didn't work out, just like none of the other things ever worked out in my life. But just like I saw Kai Cenat, Kendrick Curry, whatever, I saw the KCC win the Super Bowl. Right after some guy says I'm the bravest person in the world and I can talk to God. But at the same time, 4 or 5 months later, I'm here and my car's broken down and I start to feel close to that connection again. I know the world has changed. It's not the same world. Everything's always changing. But I'm getting close to this build-up where I'm about to shoot up again like the tree and build this higher connection. And then some guy comes in and tries to kill me with a baton, and I have to throw him over my shoulder and hack him with a hatchet. And then the world attacked me for over a year. Just no one outside of this phone would help me, and they all attacked me. Except the people that had the same names as the people from my past. I'm not in Section 8. I'm homeless. I've been out of Section 8 since 2021. I officially left in February 2022, and then immediately my mom picked up a knife, called the police, smiling, and said that I had a grenade and I was going to kill her. And they tackled me into a wall. My arms were up like Jesus, and they pepper sprayed me, dragged me on the floor, didn't wash my eyes, put it on the news, and then left me in a cell with no running water and pepper spray in my eyes and nose for 3 days. And then I still haven't gotten out of court for that. And the judge, it's been 3 years now, and the judge just lets me in. They berate me. They talk shit about me. They try to put me down. If it doesn't work, they get like vicious. And like I have it on video where their whole head goes like, "Ugh." They literally can't function, and they just start like trying to bite me spiritually in front of everyone. So that's what gang stalking is to me. Where, I mean, I have this on video too on my channel, where I get to a point where because I'm always fighting to gain access to that again, to like get this connection to the sun going again and free myself from demonic influence or whatever you would call it, and free myself to gain mental clarity and creative control so that I can just start making content and making art again. That's all I want to do, is just make songs and live truly how I want to and how I'm supposed to. And then we had things like cops would show up next to me and just tap the siren, boop 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 for sometimes up to a half an hour. And I would go looking for them, and I wouldn't be able to find the car. But then I'd go live, and then 3 cars would take off. 3 police cars. And I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? It's not that there's no crime. Who the fuck are these people? They would follow me to McDonald's. And then it got a lot worse and a lot more physical and violent, and I've got some of that on video of them just attacking me, literally. Shooting at me. And that hasn't really stopped. But the point is, like, what's another Brian I can bring up? I mean, Ari Aster's new film, the main character is saved by a kid named Brian. When I was here, when I went to West Virginia, I wanted to do landscaping, and I wanted to live on a hill overlooking a small town. And then I met Brian and Heather, who live on a hill overlooking a small town. And then I wanted to get on a motorcycle, and I wanted to travel across the country. And then I came here, and the bus driver that drives me every day back and forth is named Brian, and all he talks about is how he wants to get on a motorcycle and drive across the country. And I have a lot more stories about Brians that are in a position I wanted to be in the future, that show me through them what it's like, and if I really want to, and I can sort of recalibrate what my dreams are because of that. But I mentioned it for like a couple weeks straight. I just talked about Brian over and over again. And then the past couple weeks, or the past month, I've been leaving the cabin, and there's just somebody on the dirt road watching me, and then they pull their phone out, start recording me, and a couple times they've tried to literally just run me off the road. The one time they stopped and spoke to me because I wasn't going to engage them, and they were slowly following behind me. I stopped to take a photo of the mountains, and he stops. So I'm like, hey, aren't you the guy I saw before? And he was like, maybe. I was like, well, I'm Casey, man. Sorry, it's just people have been so bad to me here. It's just dangerous, and they've been violent towards me. And so it makes me uneasy to see he's kind of slowly trailing behind me like that. If I ever gave you a bad impression, that's all it was. He was like, oh, well, my name's Brian. And then I look over, and the guy he's with, I thought was an old man, but I look, and I swear to God, he's wearing a prosthetic mask. Like, it was easily visible that he was not an old man, and that was some type of makeup. Like, I could see the difference in the skin around the eyes, that he was wearing something over his face. And then loud noises usually pick up, and sirens go off. But then there's a higher level, which is, I can't explain it other than there's something that to do with connecting to a higher level of consciousness that makes the crows extremely angry, and they see you as a threat, and they will target. At least they target me. Okay. And the guy in the car wearing the mask said, and this is true, he mentioned something about my hair being long and it falling out places. And then, coincidentally, other people started talking around me about hair and how it's used in witchcraft, and I should be careful about my hair. And then I got 3 videos today. I'd never watch gangstalking videos, but I decided to today. And the main thing they talk, I mean, before that, I kept seeing like in my head when I try to go to sleep, I would just keep seeing the image of the movie Weapons that just came out. And in the movie Weapons, it's about a witch who kills, or she uses witchcraft to possess through a parasite. So a spiritual parasite that she puts in people to control them. And she was taking kids to harvest their youth and locking them in a basement. And the kid's name, she was living in his house, was Alex. And in the movie, you can see that in the scene where Alex starts to take the belongings of the people to possess them, so the witch can possess them, in his cubby, in his kindergarten cubby, next to him, right after he doesn't take his thing so he can't be controlled, he takes Casey's. And when the witch wants to mark people for death and take the people she's possessed and send people to kill somebody else, she has to take their hair. And then I've been getting videos like for the past month now of just random videos of strangers. Like it gets 3 or 4 views, and they're just talking about how people, gang stalkers, which is a large organization of people, sort of like Beau is Afraid, like a trillionaire secret society that's controlling the masses. They find specific people based on their birthdays or astrology or what they're doing or God's influence on them, and they send these people to target them. A big thing that those people do, because they believe in the occult and hermeticism and witchcraft, is that they take their hair. They take clumps of their hair and they use it for spells. So I had another instance where this summer I was living by the river and this woman showed up and she offered me food. And the first time she offered me food, it tasted fine. It was really good food, homemade, warm, like hot cooked meal. But before she gave it to me, she was like, "Do you want me to take a bite to show you I didn't lace it with anything?" And I was like, "No, I didn't even think about that." But then the next time she came, it had this weird taste. And then there was like 3 or 4 strands of hair in it. And there was a penny. And I was like, I immediately was like, oh fuck. So I was like, hey, there's a penny in here. She's like, oh really? That's weird. And I have to like a couple, like when I started watching the Ari Aster films a month later, in Midsummer, the way they get the guy is that they drug him and the girl puts her hair and her period blood in the food. And then he becomes the bear and he's a human sacrifice. And like bear symbolism is heavy in my channel. So I don't know. It's this thing that it's not a schizophrenic delusion where I'm obsessed about it and it's not happening. It's that I don't think about it at all. And it's forced on me externally. That's the big problem here, is that I can't escape that it happens. I don't want it to happen. And just speaking it out loud still seems really crazy to me. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but it's just happened so much on so many different levels. So these gang stalking videos, they talk about how organizations like this, the point is that we live a short life. So if they can ruin it as early as possible, they can ensure, because one man can change the world. Like, it's very easy to teach people like osmosis and spirituality, and for strong people with gifted minds and hearts, it's pretty easy for them to start to shake up and dismantle their system. And to people that have created wealth, like, money isn't like, there's no amount of money they don't have access to, literally, because they make it. They don't really have to pay people to go down to Africa and start ripping out minerals to build things. It's not about money. They can just do it. It's just like how you don't have to pay your uncle to come help you build a deck. It's just like they just ask and people do it, and it's no problem. So for them to just throw 100 grand or 300 grand at a group of 15 people and have them tail someone, follow them, practice this witchcraft, and that's how they grow in the cult, is like, sort of like when you go on a special ops mission, how you do on that mission is how you grow in the military. It's like this secret organization has followers, and they like, Satanism is huge. Satanism is a lot bigger than we realize. So it, like, the times that I've just like felt like somebody was watching me, and I felt this huge pain in my teeth. My teeth start to hurt really bad, and it feels like it's coming from my left side at like my 10 o'clock. And then I look to my 10 o'clock, and there's an unmarked van with 3 people in it, and they're all staring at me. And then as soon as I clock them, they speed off and take off. And then I don't see that van for 6 months. But then the same thing happens where I feel the pain in my teeth, and I look around for the van, and I find the van. So I just have to assume that they want my mind whittled down. I don't know why they can't just kill me. Like, it seems like that would be easier, but maybe there's something that I'm doing that, like, the fruit isn't ripe yet or something. Or they're literally not allowed to by some higher force. I don't know. But I think what they like to do is kind of make you do it to yourself. Like, they want you to be seen as crazy. They want you to, hey, look. Who are you? That's a pair of eyes. He's fast. There's 2 of them. I can't see what you are. I can only see your eyes. I think it's a cat. Go into the light. Oh shit, what the fuck was that? Like a small bird just flew left to right. Right about, like, right in front of me. I'm assuming that's a cat because foxes aren't that curious. Like, it's probably... And there's 2 of them. could be a raccoon, because raccoons stare at the light. Foxes don't really stare at the light, or coyotes, they just run. You just need to diet and get the pin test so it's leaking out your pores. I don't know what that means. If you want to do MMA, I don't know what that means. I do want to do MMA, but now I have an injury. I was gonna watch a movie tonight. I forgot what I was gonna watch. But I thought that Vermont, like I had the American dream, was that I would be able to go anywhere, like the countryside here, and just set up shop. And I thought because I'm a good person, the community would welcome me and everyone would offer to help build me up and everything would go well. But what I got is like, except for, there's really no one. There's just like very sparse moments. A few people would help, but they won't hire me. And it seems like the majority of them are actively working against me. Once I met someone who's in the community, they told me about what really happens. And it really is that everything I do, where I walk down the street, I sit outside Cumbies, I'm in the dollar store, I'm in McDonald's, everything I do, she says that people talk about. I bought this because they put up those signs. So I bought a no parking sign and I bought a no smoking sign so that when they walk up to bother me. But what's really weird is that I keep setting them up and something keeps ripping them down. God, I hate. So, I don't know how I'm going to get money to get a computer. Creative Cloud like Adobe Animate, Premiere, probably Ableton, software that's expensive to start doing sound design, an audio interface and a mic and a camera. And then I can start creating at a higher level. But maybe I just need to focus on the small stuff. But it feels like that's over. Like, I've been doing this for 2 years. So I know my mom was a narcissist, but I hope that some of that got through. Watch Beau is Afraid. You can, CINEGO.TV. There's no scams or bad web stuff on the website. You can watch free movies. Just watch Beau is Afraid, Hereditary, Midsummer. They're good movies. They're cool. I told you I keep finding polar bears. I worked for the thrift store for a couple hours, and this was they asked me to get rid of a bunch of cardboard boxes, and then in the cardboard box at the very bottom, this was here, and it's 2025 adds up to 9. And every time I go there, I drink their Coca-Cola. which is pretty cool. I am trying to save my money, but I'm out of food stamps. So I'm out of fluid. I don't have any liquid here. Mosquitoes. Is there anything to drink in here? No, there isn't. I'm all out of fluid, but maybe tomorrow I can give them, I'll say, can I buy 3? Can I pay for 3 or 4 drinks for $4 and fill this up with soda? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to walk. It's a total of 10 miles there and back, and half of it's uphill. Because I have to walk 3 miles down a mountain, and then 1.5 miles to the store. Then I have to walk all the way back. So I'm gonna go back to my daily habit of consuming too much content on the internet and just hope that nothing bad happens to me later.